the classic song, Be Thou My Vision.
Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of the Brazos Valley, Brazos UU or UUCBV for short. My name is Kiya. My pronouns are she, they. We are a welcoming congregation, which means that we celebrate and welcome all people of diverse sexual orientations and gender identities. We also strive to welcome people across diversities of race, age, ability, immigration status, and belief. We are also a congregation working towards reproductive justice. So, whoever you are, wherever you have come from, wherever you are on life's journey, you are welcome here.
The call to worship this morning is in the hymnal. If you would like to read along, it's number 541. It's the Winter Meditation by Denise Levitott. The bare trees have made up their seed bundles. They are ready now. The warm brown light pauses briefly, shrugs, and moves on. They are ready now to play dead for a while. I, human, have not as yet devised how to obtain such privilege. Their spring will find them rested, and I, my kind battle, a wakeful way to ours.
Alright, we're now going to do our chalice lighting. Ryan, that's right, you said last week. Alright, we're going to have the chalice words up on the screen.
Good morning. How is everyone today? Give me a thumbs up, a middle, or a boo. Pretty good. That's great. My name is Allison, and I am the Director of Religious Education here at the church. And each week, I get to tell you a story that's for people from ages 0 all the way up until the elder years of life. And today is a very, very classic Unitarian story. It's called A Lamp in Every Corner, and it comes out of the book A Lamp in Every Corner by Janine Grossmeyer. Many years ago, in the land of Transylvania, in a mountain valley watered by quick, rushing streams and shadowed by great forests of beech trees, there was a village of small wooden houses with dark, shingled roofs. The people in the village were of the Unitarian religion, and they wanted a church of their own. A church set on the hillside, they decided, looking down upon the village. So all the people of the village labored long and hard to build themselves a church. The stonemasons hammered sharp chisels to cut great blocks of gray stone, then set the stones into stout and sturdy walls. The glaziers made tiny glass panes and fitted them neatly into the windows with leaded lines. The foresters sawed tall beech trees into enormous beams and laid the trusses to the ceiling, then covered the roof with close-fitting wooden shingles that wouldn't leak a drop of rain. The carpenters carved wood for the pair of wide opening doors, setting them on strong pegs so that the doors hung straight and square. A bell was brought from a faraway city, then hoisted by ropes with a heave and a hoe to the top of the tower. The weavers wove fine cloths for the altar table, cloths embroidered with flowers and edged with lace. The smiths hammered black iron into tall lampstands and hammered thin bronze into shining oil lamps. Finally, when the building of the church was done, the painting of the church could begin. The painters mixed bright colors, royal reds and shimmering golds and brilliant blues, and everyone in the village, old and young, boys and girls, women and men, came to decorate their church. They painted flowers, they painted trees, they painted designs around the windows and different designs around the doors. And at the end of the day, when it was finished, when their church was finally done, all the people of the village stood back to admire it. And then to sing a song of happiness and praise. Their village had a church now, a church set on the hillside, looking down upon the village. "We will eat now," announced an elder of the village, because everyone was hungry after all that work. "And later tonight we will come back to pray." So the people of the village went down the hillside to their homes and their suppers, all except one little girl named Zora and her father, who stayed behind. They brought their own bread and cheese, and they ate their food slowly, sitting on the grass on the hillside and admiring their new church with its strong stone walls, its tall tower, and its magnificent bell. After they had eaten, they went back inside, opening those carved wooden doors to go into the gloriously painted sanctuary inside. "Oh, look, Father," Zora cried, running from picture to picture with her footsteps echoing off the stone walls. "See how pretty the church is?" She stopped in the center of the church and twirled slowly around. "See how me. There are tall iron lampstands all around the walls, but there are no lamps. The church will be dark when the people come back. Oh no, little one, said her father. The light of the church comes from its people. You'll see. He rang the bell to call the people to worship, and took his daughter by the hand and led her back outside. They waited on the grassy hillside next to their beautiful church of strong gray stone. The sun had set behind the mountains, and the night was coming soon. Yet, in the growing darkness, tiny points of light came from many directions and moved steadily up the hill. Each family is entrusted with a lamp, her father explained. Each family lights its own way here. Where is our family's lamp? Your mother is carrying it. She'll be here soon. The many lights moved closer together, gathering into one moving stream, all headed the same way, growing larger and brighter all the time. Zora's mother arrived carrying a burning oil lamp in her hands. The father lifted Zora so she could see their family's lamp high in its tall iron stand. All around the church, other families were doing the same. Soon the church was ablaze with light in every corner, for all the people of the village had gathered to pray and sing. All through the worship service, Zora watched the lights flicker and glow. She watched her family's lamp most of all. When the service was over, her father lifted her high. She took the shining bronze lamp from the lampstand. Its curved sides were warm and smooth in her hands. Her mother carried the lamp home with the flame lighting the way. The lamp flame lit their house when they returned home. Zora washed her face and got ready for bed by the light of that flame. Mom, Zora began as she climbed into bed. Yes, little one, her mom asked, tucking the red wool blanket around Zora's shoulders. Father said the light of the church comes from its people. Yes, but also the people take their light from the church. Over on the table by the fireplace, the shiny bronze lamp was still burning, and we have that light every day. Yes, indeed, said her mother, and even when we are not in church, even when that lamp is not lit, we carry the light of truth in our minds and the flame of love in our hearts to show us the right way to be. That light, the light from truth and love, will never go out. Never? asked Zora. Never, said her mother. And this bronze lamp will last for many, many years. When you are grown, we will give you the bronze lamp. And when children you love grow up, you will give the lamp to them. And all of you will carry it back and forth to church every time. But there's only one lamp, Zora said. So make another lamp and let the light grow, and someday tell the children to make more lamps too. And now, good night, her mother said. I kissed Zora once on the cheek, and once on that cheek, and then once on the forehead. Zora closed her eyes and drifted into dreams while her mother looked down upon her sleeping child. The years passed and Zora grew. The bronze lamp did come into her care. She kept it polished and clean, and when the bell rang out across the valley to call the people to worship, she carried the lamp back and forth to the church on the hillside, the flame always lighting her way. When the time came, she made more lamps and gave them to the village children, who made more lamps and gave them to other children. And so it went on through the years and even until today. And always, the light of truth and the flame of love from that Unitarian church on the hillside continue to grow and show them and us the way to be right. The end. And now I would love to invite our younger UUs to the back for religious education. And will you all please sing us out with this little light of mine?
Oh, this little light
Now is the time in our service when we meditate and light candles for our joys and concerns, so that we may share them in our community. Christy will provide the music for us today. So we're going to start, and if everyone will just line up like normal, we'll light the candles.
So, where do y'all come from? Who are your people? That's what they would ask you if you were in Kentucky where I grew up. They go, now who are your people? These are our people that we're talking about this morning, early Unitarians. We're talking about 16th, 17th century. We Unitarians come from heretical early Christians, like Origen and Arianism, that was considered a heresy after the 5th century, where Jesus was considered human and the Trinity was not part of the picture. We are also connected to Transylvania, which is now part of Romania, but was originally part of Hungary. It's all about the Axis and wars. But Transylvania was a kingdom, and they had a king in 1568 named King John Sigmund of Hungary, and he had grown up in the Ottoman Empire, where religious tolerance was much more a common practice. You know, yes, you got beat up and they took over your country, but they would let you practice how you practice. And so when he had the opportunity to be a king, he had a court preacher named Frederick David. And Frederick became a Unitarian after reading the writings of a Spanish doctor named Michael Cervantes. Anybody heard of Michael Cervantes? You should definitely listen about Michael Cervantes, because Cervantes was condemned as a heretic by John Calvin for kind of good reason, because Michael Cervantes wrote this book, and they argued back and forth in writing. And then Michael Cervantes went to Geneva and stood in the back while John Calvin was preaching and stood up and told him he was wrong. And so John Calvin had him burned at the stake in 1553 with his books tied to his body. His martyrdom inspired future religious reformers, particularly early Unitarians, who saw him as a pioneer of rational religion, although it's not a good statement to his rationality that he stood up in the back of John Calvin's church. Okay. He also influenced one of the main people we're going to talk about today, Joseph Priestley. What do you know about Joseph Priestley? Anybody? Oxygen, yes. Well, he did a lot of other things too. And he was a nonconformist, i.e., a future Unitarian minister. So, we're going to talk about him in a second. But, so what do you know about our ancestors, our American ancestors? Do you all know that we come from the Pilgrims? Now, if you're like me and went to a multi-religious seminary where we call our ancestors and lay on the floor and listen to drumming for hours, some of these ancestors you might not want to call, as I will say. The Pilgrims were a radical group of separatists who believed the Church of England was beyond reform and needed to be completely abandoned. They believed in forming independent congregations separate from the state church. They emphasized simplicity in worship, rejecting many traditional Anglican and Catholic practices. Their faith was rooted in Calvinism. John Calvin is our ancestor, emphasizing predestination, i.e. that God had already chosen who would be saved. Like, Meg and I used to walk in the pool for about an hour a day, and while we were walking, she would explain to me Presbyterian theology. And I would be horrified. Because basically there was a list of the saved and a list of the damned, and you were put on one of those lists. See if I get this wrong, Meg. List of the saved and list of the damned, and there's nothing you can do about it. So you might as well go knock off the 7-Eleven. Okay. So, we've got the Pilgrims. You got that. Alright, so the Pilgrims fled England to the Netherlands, and then later to North America. Yes, Plymouth Colony, 1620, Plymouth Rock, that whole story. Okay. To freely practice their religion. And the Puritans, who come a little bit later, were non-separating reformers. So they wanted to fix the Church of England, but they weren't necessarily ready to kick and maintained ties to England while enforcing strict religious and moral codes. So these are the forefathers and the foremothers of the New England congregational churches that we come from. That's why we are cousins with the UCC, who come from the congregational churches. So before about 1840, Unitarians are like this. So, Unitarians with Priestley was an English theologian, so he was born in England. He's a scientist, as you know, from oxygen. He also invented soda water. We can thank him every time we have a pop. Okay. He's very important to our lives. Yes. Okay. So he was really into this early biblical Unitarianism. So Priestley outright denied the Trinity, arguing that it was unbiblical. It wasn't in there. That's what most people say to this day that are Unitarian theologians. He believed that Jesus was a divinely inspired human, not God himself. And this also becomes a major tenet of Unitarian theology. So these are kind of the early things. So as a scientist, he's best known for discovering oxygen, but he also championed empirical reasoning and scientific progress as complementary to religion. So that's something that we've carried through, is this belief that science and religion can live in the same room, and in the same brain sometimes. He saw Christianity as a rational faith, not a mystical or superstitious one. His ideas resonated with the Enlightenment, ideas of reason and progress, and a lot of our founding fathers, no matter what you've heard lately, they were deists. They were very sympathetic to this idea that your brain is involved in your spiritual development. Priestley was an advocate for religious tolerance and political liberty, which aligned with emerging democratic ideas in both Britain, France, and America. His radical religious and political views led to persecution in England. So he lived in Birmingham. He had a bunch of churches. He was a minister most of the time when he lived in England. And so he had a church in Birmingham, and his house was there in his laboratory. And there were riots, and they burned his place to the ground for some of these beliefs. Burned his place to the ground. So he didn't know what to do. His grown kids had already moved to the United States, and so he and his wife packed up in 1794, and they came to the United States. And he is very influential in starting churches mostly around Philadelphia. So if you go to First Church in Philadelphia, that's Priestley influenced. So the other old light I would like to talk about this morning is Charles Chauncey. Now Charles Chauncey, the one I'm talking about today, he was born in 1705. He lived in 1787. He's a great-grandson of Charles Chauncey, 1592 to 1672, the second president of Harvard. So this guy is Bostonian elite, a Bostonian Brahmin. So he went to the best school, the Latin school. He went to Harvard at 12, like everybody else did back then. And he was raised to be in a Puritan family, to be a Puritan minister, because that's what Harvard was for originally. So he went when he was 12, and he trained and with exposure to lots of rationalist ideas. So the big thing of that day was the Enlightenment, and he started to look at the Bible a little bit more scholarly in their approach. And that is a very Unitarian thing, to ask questions and say, well, maybe is this miracle important? Anybody ever hear about Jefferson, like, making his own Bible, where he marked out the parts he didn't like? And we claim him as a Unitarian, but all he said was, if he was going to go to church, he would have gone to a Unitarian church. I'm not sure that's enough. So we're back to Chauncey, and he's really significant because he was the minister at First Parish in Boston from 1727 to 1787. That's 60 years. throughout the American Revolution, throughout the arguments in the pre-revolution about whether or not they were going to call a bishop for the United States in the Anglican Church, which he was totally against. And another big thing, his sermons often reflected themes of liberty and resistance to tyranny. So he's drawing from both biblical and Enlightenment ideas. His religious justification for revolution, he argued that freedom was divinely ordained, and thus colonial resistance to oppression was morally justified. His anti-authoritarian theology paralleled his opposition to both the Anglican bishops and British political control. So Chauncey rejected Calvinist doctrines like predestination. He denied the total depravity of the soul. Sorry, you're responsible because you're essentially a good person, and so if you act badly, it's on you. It's a this is a new idea to them. These ideas later become central to Unitarianism, which oppose the idea of an inherently sinful humanity and instead emphasize human potential and reason. So Chauncey had another thing happen during his life besides the Revolutionary War that he's known for, and that's he criticized the revival, the First Great Awakening. Anybody know anything about that? So anybody heard of Jonathan Edwards and Sinner's Angry God thing? Okay. So there was this movement. The Puritans are all kind of like, you're born into it, you gotta have a personal relationship with God, you gotta study your whole life, you gotta really use your brain. Your heart is part of it, but it's not the essential part. And so the First Great Awakening is like the first time you get the kind of direct personal experience of God with these really theatrical preachers who are like, help! 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 Like that. So, for some reason that was very popular. People went, I think they were really bored because church was like 3 hours. So they were happy to have anything happen out there that was, rowdy. And so people got saved. And that is when you start having the Baptists and the Methodists come on. You've got preachers like Jonathan Edwards and George Whitefield who preached up and down the colonies. And it was extremely intense and kind of critical of Puritanism. Well, Chauncey was like, not having it. He was a little bit like, I don't know if you can just run down and get saved. I'm not sure that's true. I think you need to do a little work and use your head. So he was probably the most outspoken anti-awakening person, and he still has that reputation. So you got these traveling preachers who had large outdoor revival meetings where they delivered passionate theatrical sermons, and they depicted hell, like very literally, and divine judgment, and there's lots of writings of people who were young at that time and would sit in the pulpit and just go home and have terrible dreams like they sat home and watched, The Exorcist 3 times. It would have been like that. So can you imagine? The Great Awakening reached across class and racial lines, drawing in farmers and laborers and women and enslaved people. It contributed to both the Baptist and the Methodist churches, pretty soon wiping out Unitarian and Universalist numbers. They were more inclusive and emphasized individual spiritual experience, so more Armenian, as the theological language goes. So, Chauncey believed religious experience could be guided by reason and intellectual understanding, and that's really important. And he wrote lots of books that everybody read, because that's all he had that time to do, I guess. As a scientist, we had both of them together, Chauncey and Priestley, transformed American religion, and they were a huge influence on another guy that has to have his own Sunday named William Ellery Channing. But we'll talk about him in the future. But these are your people, and these are who you come from. So together, Chauncey and Priestley helped transform American religion, paving the way for a rational, free-thinking, and morally centered form of liberal Christianity, which our roots are locked in. That is it. Way to go. You made it through.
four groups we voted to support with this year's donation are Brazos Valley Blessings, Brazos Interfaith Immigration Network, the Trans Joy Project, and Tiny Hope Village. We vote on this every May at our congregational meeting. Please be as generous as you can.
Our anthem this morning is a two-verse, so we're going to sing a song that they would have sung in the early church. It's number 281, "Oh God, Our Help in Ages Past." And then I'll take you to a more modern version of Boston. Oh God, our help in ages past, our hope for years to come, a shelter from the stormy flood, and our eternal home before
Carabiner collections will also be here at noon outside with books to check out, as well as a drag story time for all ages. Love and Joy rehearsals are now Monday and Thursday from 6 to 7. We do have rehearsal tomorrow, Monday evening at 6 p.m. Of course, the latest music is up at Heartwood.com. Just click on the Love and Joy page and you'll find everything you need. Repair Cafe volunteers are needed. We need folks who can fix electronics, furniture, etc., as well as bilingual folks who are willing to be translators. Please see Sarah. She's raising her hand back there. Also, yeah, if you have anything that you need mended, fixed, any trinkets, clothes, anything like that, it's a full Repair Cafe for everybody. It's going to be on February 22nd. A new silent meditation group is starting. We'll be on Thursdays after choir at 7 p.m. Please see Carolyn or Liz for more information. And then lastly, we have our new worship team sign-ups that are available now. Find volunteer descriptions and sign-ups in the thread after church. The training for that will be on March 9th. So now, please join me in extinguishing our chalice. The words will be on the screen. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we gather together again.
Please join me if you choose to sing the benediction. Remember the way of the wind and breathe and blow. Remember the way of the fire and sparkle and glitter and glow. Remember the way of the water and ebb and flow. Remember the way of the earth and grow. Go in peace.